A common question I get more often than not is, how can I eat out and still lose fat? So we're going to cover that today, and I'm going to go over some strategies that I use on how to do that and how to do that properly without becoming overly anxious or worrying too much in the process. Now, there are going to be many times when you need to eat out, or you want to eat out with friends, or you have something that comes up and you've been on a diet, you've been really focused, you've been hitting your macros, but now you need to eat out and you're not sure how to track it. But what's worse is maybe you're feeling anxious or you're feeling overwhelmed and you're afraid that maybe you're going to undo some progress, or you might start eating something that you really enjoy and then not be able to get back on track the next day. The truth of the matter is this doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be something that you get overly worried about. It just takes a little bit of strategy and a little bit of planning, and I'm going to share that with you today. My name is JC Dean. You're watching an OBS approach to looking great naked. This is where I give you the truth about what it takes to get into shape, and I give you the exact steps to reach your fitness goals. Today, I'm going to show you how I go about tracking my macros whenever I have to eat out or whenever I choose to eat out, and I'm going to give you some examples and strategies that have helped me and that have helped all my clients. The first strategy I like to use is just to think ahead. If you already know that you have something planned, let's say you're going to go out with friends later, you're going to eat at your favorite restaurant and you don't want to feel deprived and you're going to have a drink or two, you know that that big meal is probably going to contain quite a few calories. So what you can do is think ahead, plan ahead, and as a result, eat smaller meals earlier in the day. So what I typically tell my clients to do is focus on lean protein first, make sure that they're getting plenty of vegetables and maybe a salad, something like that, to fill them up, to make them feel full, but also so that they hit their protein recommendations as well. So maybe you'll have a protein shake in the morning with a few pieces of fruit, and then for lunch you could have lean protein source and maybe a salad or maybe some cooked vegetables, and keep the carbs and fat generally low. Another strategy I use is if you have to go out for a spur of the moment thing. Let's say you have been eating regularly that you normally would up until this random occurrence happens, and say you get a call, a friend is in from out of town and they want to go out and have some food, or you are stuck at work late and you have to go to a meeting and it's going to contain food, and you're going out to a restaurant and you have to make a decision. So when you go out to a restaurant, most of the time you can always have vegetables as a side, or you can have vegetables substituted for one of the higher carb dishes. Most of the time, you're going to have a portion of meat and a portion of carbohydrate, and then the fat that they use is usually going to be inside the potatoes or inside the rice, or as a result of the fatty meat that they cooked, or maybe they used butter for this or that. Whatever it is, you can always make a better choice. So what I tend to do is tell people to think of protein first and think of a lean source of protein. So if they can get a lean piece of chicken versus a fatty steak, I would say get the lean chicken, or a lean fish, a white fish over a piece of salmon. And then instead of getting a big helping of rice or a big helping of potatoes, which usually is going to have a lot of fat in them just by the way that the restaurant cooks it for taste, you can always ask for a side of vegetables and say, hey, instead of getting the rice, can I just get some steamed vegetables? Now, that may not be the most exciting meal in the world, but think about it like this. It's just one meal, so do your best for this one meal to try to get a high protein, low carb, low fat meal, and then once it's done, and you can get back on track the next day. The last tip I want to mention is if you're going out and you want to be as precise as you possibly can, then just track the meal as best as you can using something like Chronometer or MyFitnessPal or Fat Secret, whatever tracker you use. And let's just use an example of a burger. So you can individually track a bun, you can individually track the patty, you can individually track the tomato and lettuce, which I don't recommend tracking those, but you can. And say if you get a side of fries, or say you get a baked potato, you can estimate the size of that potato in Chronometer without weighing it. You can estimate how much sour cream or how much cheese they give you. And even if there's a slice of cheese on the burger, you can input that into Chronometer or MyFitnessPal as well, even down to the mayo, whether it be a half tablespoon or whatever you think it is. The truth of the matter is that tracking in this way is not 100% perfect, and no tracking, by the way, is 100% perfect. The thing to keep in mind here is that when you're tracking this way, it's not as accurate as it would be if you were making it at home and weighing the meat and looking at the nutrition label for the bun and making sure that you're using a certain type of mayonnaise or whatever you do. But tracking this way, especially if you're really trying to keep tabs on how many macros and how much calories you're eating on a consistent basis, this is a really great way to do it. And I've personally done it myself a bunch, and it hardly ever throws me or any of my clients off. The main thing is just to do your best and track it as best as you can. Put it in there and don't worry about it, because you know that eating out like this is not something that probably happens on a super consistent basis. So as long as it's just happening every once in a while and you track as best you can, you did the best you can, you shouldn't worry about it anymore. So here they are really quickly again. If you know that you're going to have a big dinner out, plan ahead, eat lighter during the day, focus on foods that are low in calories and high in protein, and then eat whatever you want and enjoy your dinner meal. If you do end up having to go out to a restaurant at the last minute and it wasn't in your plan at all, you can always focus on high protein, try to keep the carbs and fats to a minimum by having a lean piece of meat or fish, and then having some steamed vegetables if possible. And then if you plan on going out and eating whatever you want, then track it as best as you can and just try to make it fit into your macros as best as you can. And even if it means tracking individual ingredients like buns or pieces of meat or whatever it is you're trying to track, just do the best you can and don't worry too much about it, because it's not going to be something that you have to worry about all the time. So I hope that helps you understand that eating out doesn't have to be a chore. It doesn't have to be something that gives you a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry. And if you have used any of these tips or these tips seem new to you, let me know in the comments below and let me know what you think. And if you have any tips for eating out, leave those in the comments below as well. It might help someone who is watching and reading your comments. Also, make sure to get a copy of my fat loss cheat sheet. It is in the description below. And thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.